Okay, so welcome. Today I'm going to be talking about repairing the touchscreen on a MyGig. This is specifically an RHR, but this should work on any of the 730N or 430N models. You just want to double check everything to make sure it's going to fit. So to get to the screen, there's a few things you have to do. First, you have to remove the two screws on top here and here. Okay, and then on the back, you have to remove the screw here and here and here. Okay. Once you have that off, with a little bit of prying, you can pull up your DVD drive, and then inside here there'll be a ribbon cable. You got to disconnect that. Once that's off, you can pull that out and set it aside. Okay. Next, we need to get the front off. Okay. We don't have to deal with taking any of this out. We just have to get the front separated. So how we do that is we disconnect these three connectors here. So there's this one, there's this one, and then there's this connector right here as well. I've already taken this apart, so everything's already kind of loose for me. So, and then what you need to do is there's these little tabs on the side, right here, okay, and right here. So what you need to do is you need to kind of separate this, so squeeze it out. When you do that, the top will pop off. Oh wait, actually, I'm sorry, I lied. So before you do that, there's a screw right here that you'll need to remove. That's the only screw that you need to remove in here. Okay. So once you do that, and you pull these out, the front will pop off. It's still held in by the bottom. So if you look down here, there's these tabs where it's kind of hooked. So basically, what you'll do is you'll just kind of tilt it forward and pull it apart. You can set this part aside. Okay. And that leaves you with your actual radio, or your face. Okay. So now for this part, what you need to do is you need to get the screen out. Okay. So you got your motor here that moves the screen in and out. This is your display cable. This is the cable for all of your buttons. To get the display out, basically you just slide this out like that. Okay, I already disconnected mine, so it's a little easier, but it'll be kind of motorized a little bit. Okay, then what you do is, actually I can put this back in here. I'll show you. So right in here, so this pin will be in there like that. Okay, and then there's a little tab. Okay, so right here, there's the pin. Okay, hold on, I'm going to put this back in and I can show you how to take it apart. Okay, so it's in there. It's good, right? So you see that little tab that's kind of holding the pin in. Okay, right there. So basically what we do is, you can do this with a straight screwdriver. All you need to do is push the tab up while you're tilting the pin, and then the pin will slide out. Okay, so you see the pin's no longer locked in there, so I can push it out the rest of the way. Once I do that, there's one on each side. Okay, once you do that, the screen will be separated from the bottom, but it's still locked in the top here. You can see, so you just got to kind of wiggle it to get it just the right way in the track where it'll pop out. And then once you do, okay, be very careful with the ribbon cable. So once you do that, you can come on the back, feed the ribbon cable through. Okay, so the ribbon cable has some tabs on it that'll stop it from getting out. Just gotta be careful. Okay, so then you have your two separate pieces. Okay. Alright, so we'll set this aside now. And now we have our screen. Okay. So, to get to the actual touch panel, what we need to do is pop some tabs. So, it's real kind of hard to see, but there's a bunch of tiny little tabs like these guys. And they'll be kind of bent to hold this top piece on. Alright, they're all across the front here. Okay. Okay. And then there's one on each side too, right here. And then one right here. Alright, so once you have all those straightened so they come out of their holes, you will pry the front apart. Okay. And then again, you're going to work it out of the ribbon cable. So you just need to kind of slide it out and work the ribbon cable through the slot. And you can set that piece aside. Okay. The front, or this black piece on the front here, is held on by a couple more bend tabs. No, actually, I'm sorry. It is not held on by anything, so you can just push it out. Okay. Alright, so now we have our screen, and you can see our digitizer here, which is why we're having this problem. So we need to get this separated here. I already changed mine, I cut the cable here, but so this cable runs from here, it runs along the back here, then it plugs into the side right here. Okay, so how you get this apart is, here's these bend tabs. So there is a bend tab right here you'll straighten out. Okay, and then there's two over here, one here and here. Once you have those straight, you can pop this back piece off. Again, be very careful with the ribbon cable. Make sure you feed that through the slot nicely. Oh, the ribbon cable will also be underneath these tabs here. So you just need to get it out from under these tabs. Okay. But once you have that, you can separate it and then slide out this piece. Okay, you can set that aside. Okay, so now we have our screen with no back. So the screen itself is actually separate from the touch panel. So the screen is held on by a bunch of little notched tabs. You can see here, there. There's none across the bottom here, which is where I like to start, there and there. So I will start by bending these two side ones out here and here. Same thing on that side. Okay. So now we're starting to make a little bit of progress. Okay, and then we'll pop this one out. Okay. Alright, so there is our screen. Looks a heck of a lot better without a dirty touch panel in front of it. Not sure if you can tell, but mine also suffers from the peeling effect that many have had with this. You can see a bunch of the marks there from, yeah. The previous owner must have had really oily hands or something, and there's quite a few spots where it wore out and all the anti-reflective coating came off. But the biggest problem with this one was the touch panel was basically just going crazy, pushing random buttons, and it was unresponsive to a normal person's touch. Okay, so what I did was I actually searched on eBay and found a 6.5-inch digitizer sorry, for the resistive touch panel. If you look here, it was a generic digitizer. You can see it's got a straight 4-pin connector, which is actually the same thing that comes off of there, which is pretty standard for resistive touchscreens. Basically, you have a connector for each side. So, found this on eBay, and the ribbon actually lines up fairly decently well. one thing you want to do is make sure you get the right size. So this is 88 by 155. I believe when I measured this, it was actually 87 by 156, I think, millimeters. So if you notice, you got a little bit of space here on the bottom, which is why this 88 by 155 works pretty well. This was $17 on eBay. Okay, so here's the new display, or new Digitizer. Still has the plastic on it. I haven't taken that off yet. But what I did was I kept the old connector. I cut that off of the old one because this does not match up. This connector, this actually splits off into a bunch of tiny little pins. Not sure if I can show it to you very easily. There, you can see splits off into a bunch of tiny little pins. But what I did was I cut it, and then I sanded the plastic off to expose the traces for the lines here, and then I just taped the new one right on top of the old one, right on top of where I sanded, to connect everything. The connectors themselves actually line up perfectly for what side goes where, so that turned out really nice. We actually already tested this and it works perfect. So right now I'm at the point, and this is when I decided it might be helpful to make a video for people, is I'm at the point of where I got to get the glass, the old glass, off of the metal frame here. So my initial thought is to use a utility knife, so I'm going to spend some time working on that. Basically just kind of follow it along the thing here and cut the old adhesive out. I'm sure it'll take me a little bit, so I'm just going to pause the video and I'll be back. Alright, so that was actually pretty easy. So I just ran the utility knife along, cut it till it all basically come off. I only cracked it in the one corner here, but the plastic on the resistive touch panel kept it together, so that's good. The frame is very flimsy when there is nothing on it. You can see. Just kind of be careful as you're peeling it apart. Make sure you don't bend the frame or put too much stress on the frame. So the next step is to put the new Digitizer on. So that is adhered now, so we're good there. Just gonna let it sit here for another minute or so to make sure it does adhere completely. Got a little super glue on my finger. It's always fun trying to get that off. So to kind of talk more about this connector, so like I said, I cut off the old end here, right at the edge there, so that way in case I messed up I had plenty left over to work with. And then I just took some normal sandpaper. Okay, this is some drywall sandpaper that I had sitting around. And basically I just took it, held the end in there in my finger, and then just did this until the metal contacts were exposed. And then what I did was I took some packaging tape, actually, and then just ripped off two pieces. And the first piece I laid down sticky side up, like that. I laid the one half of the ribbon on the tape. Okay. And then I laid the other half on top of it. Well, I made sure they were lined up perfectly. And then I took another piece of tape and pressed it down real hard in the middle, and then squeezed it all out. So the connector was squished in between there, as you can see. And then I just cut the tape a little bit. I know there's glue out there, or not glue, like silver epoxy you can actually use to make the connection for the connectors. They even sell it in like a syringe. that you can use to essentially glue those connections, or you could even go to AutoZone or something and get one of those rear defogger repair kits and use that glue. The hardest thing about that is, you know, the traces are so close together. You got to be able to make sure you can get them to there, and then make sure they don't the glue or anything doesn't spill over across the connections. Okay, so this looks all nice and dry now. No more ugly marks or anything like that, so that looks pretty nice. Okay, so real quick, I'm sure I got my grubby fingerprints on. I'm just gonna wipe off the glass on the inside. You want to make sure you don't leave anything in there, because it'll definitely drive you crazy seeing something inside the screen that you can't wipe off. So, see, got a piece of hair on there. Okay, just make sure it looks perfect. Okay, so that looks good. So then, same thing here. You can actually see that I got some of my grubby fingerprints on it, so I'm going to wipe this off. Alright, so that looks good. No marks or anything like that. Okay, so I will go ahead and lay this down. Make sure you put that ribbon cable side in first, like so. Make sure your tabs go on the outside of the screen. I think I might have bent mine in a little bit here, so just give me a second here. Get everything lined back up the right way. Okay, so I'm gonna put the back cover back on. Okay. Then you want to make sure you slide that back into these little tabs here. Okay, so first I'll get this lined up and get it snapped back on. Make sure that goes on the inside of the tab here, because you're embedding the tabs in. So that all looks good there. So I can push that down. Okay. I did forget to mention, when removing this, there's actually 5 screws you need to remove. So yeah, lesson learned. Make sure that, eek, I really hope I didn't screw that up. That's pretty bent. I might be buying a new ribbon cable. Okay. So make sure that it goes above this tab here, and then make sure that slides up underneath there. Guess we'll find out if my display doesn't work now. So nice new Digitizer. I don't know. Look. That is under the screen. No. Alright, I'll be back. Okay, got that piece of glass out. It's actually on the display itself. Little note, don't ever wipe glass off of a bare LCD panel, because you will for sure scratch it. So I just blew it off, and it came right off. So that's all set, ready to go. So now I'm ready to connect my Digitizer here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect it, and as you can see, I'm going to have a lot of cable left over here, so I'm just going to actually just fold this over. Make sure this gets lined up right though. Okay. Maybe. There we go. Okay, so that's in there, lined up. Okay, it's good. So again, I'm just going to kind of fold this over so it kind of ends up inside here. I think I might actually tape this so it stays kind of out of the way. Yeah, definitely don't really want it, you know, getting messed up or getting in the way of anything. So yeah, I'll probably end up doing that and taping it. So let me do that real quick. So I'm just gonna throw a piece of tape on here, kind of hold it up out of the way like that. Again, I'm gonna kind of get a little crafty here and essentially just bend this so it stays down like that inside here. I'll put a piece of tape over that too. Just kind of hold it all in there. And if you want, you know, you can definitely cut the ribbon cable shorter, so you don't have to do this, but again, I'm kind of erring on the side of caution here, so that way I don't have to mess up my connector. So just gonna do that. That looks good. So I'll go ahead and put my actual screen on. The connector goes on the bottom here, so when you're putting your screen in, make sure it's on the bottom. Okay. Okay. Now one caveat I did notice, it's a little bit bad about this screen, is you'll see this white line here. It doesn't have any effect on the actual function of the display, but it's just something that you'll notice. If you wanted to take a black marker to it or something like that to cover it up, you probably could easily. So now I will put my cover back on. You gotta make sure you feed this through carefully. Don't pinch it like I did. Okay. And we'll put this back in here. So I might have actually bent some of these. Yeah, it looks like I did. Just gotta make sure you get them all bent straight again if you did mess them up. Shouldn't be that big a deal. Just something to keep in mind. Get them all lined up nice and good. Okay. And then make sure you get this snapped in here okay. Okay. Now it's all good. You know, everything's snapped in. So you got all these little tabs you got to bend back. So just bend all those back. Pretty straightforward. Okay, and then the same thing with these ones here on the side. I'm just gonna use my pliers for this. These ones are a little bit trickier. Okay, and then same thing with this one. Okay. So now, I'll go ahead and put these 5 screws in. Okay. Okay. So we're all set there. Display is good. Okay, so now we'll put it back into the front piece. So how we do that, first make sure we have it facing the right way. Feed the ribbon cable through here, make sure you're feeding the tabs through. Okay. And then you gotta kinda, again, work this in here to get those little arms into the track in there. So you can kinda show you, see that track down here on the side, you gotta get the arms to line up with that. I find it's easier to put the ribbon cable side in first and then worry about the other side. But I go like halfway down like that, and then you can kind of work the other side in like that. Okay, put the ribbon cable in. Like so. Okay, so now we got to put our arms back on. It's easiest to put it all the way down like that. It won't work all the way down, but pretty close. And you can just slide them over, and they lock back in. Same with this side. Okay, and the display is attached again. Okay. There's our ribbon cable. There's these two tabs here that the ribbon cable fits into, like that. Alright. Then we can put our display on the front here. Again, you want to do the bottom first, so it kind of rocks into place on those bottom connectors down here. You see them right there. The tabs that it kind of fits into, and then just kind of line everything up and fit it in. Make sure the connectors don't get pinched. A little bit cautious of that now. And then you just kind of fit this together, make sure those little tabs snap in there. Okay. And then you'll connect your ribbon cables. Alright, and then we'll put our one screw back in here. It holds the display on. And then we will put our DVD player back on. And make sure you flip up the little tab here and then position this in there properly, and then flip it back down. And this is kind of the same deal. There's tabs on the back that you need to fit it on first. You see back there, and then you just kind of slide it back down into place. On the side here, there's tabs that one goes behind, one goes in front. They line up pretty well on their own though, so same on this side. Okay. Alright. Then I'll put my 4 screws in on out here. Really hoping I didn't mess up the LCD panel ribbon cable. We'll find out here in a few minutes. Okay. Then we got the 2 on the back here and here. And that is it. You have a nice fancy new display. Let's go test it out. Alright, so we're out in my car, ready to put it back in. I have a Chrysler 200. So I'm just gonna pop this back out. I didn't really put it back, so I'm just gonna unplug these connectors because I did have to drive it without the radio. There's quite a few connectors on the back of this radio. Just gotta plug them all in. Pretty simple stuff here, so let's go ahead and do that real quick. Alright, so we got it back in. Now it's a moment of truth. The little screen still works. I'm gonna start it here. And there we go. Display works. The buttons all work. No more nasty garbage.
Got an Imperial mattress. Plus, get it.
Cool. I go to the map and kind of see how well the display works here. Looks pretty good. Beautiful. And that is how you do it. We're all set. Very cool. There you go. I kind of want to point out here, you can kind of see, if you look really close, you can kind of see that line from the one trace wire that's on the side over here. Again, it really has no effect because you're not really going to be touching all the way over there. But, you know, it is there. It is kind of noticeable, but not really. But, hey, 16 bucks and you get a touchscreen that works again. You can't really beat that.